Click to become a subscriber to the most popular YouTube channel for soap opera spoilers. The star of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After. This is how Sophie Sierra's mother, Claire Cheshire, and her current partner are doing following her arrest. London-born Sophie is a 25-year-old social media influencer. Sophie first connected with Rob Warren, a 33-year-old model and aspiring actor, on Instagram after seeing his profile on a platform dedicated to mixed-race guys. Sophie followed Rob as he approached, and the rest is, as they say, 90-day fiancé history. But the romance between Rob and Sophie did not endure. In 2022, Rob and Sophie tied the knot. Unfortunately, by May 2023, when she moved out of his new Austin home, they had split up. Before Sophie relocated to the United States, Rob had cheated on her online, and Sophie was never able to move past the betrayal. During Season 2 of 90 Day, The Last Resort, Rob and Sophie made an effort to patch things up and even went to couples counseling. They seem to have chosen to remain friends, nevertheless. Sophie's mother was constantly nagging her to leave Rob as she dealt with his adultery. Claire wanted them to split up and sowed doubt in Sophie's mind. Sophie shared her intriguing past in the first ever 90 Day Fiancé episode. Sophie is a multiracial person. Her father is Jamaican, while her mother is British. Growing up in Spain, Sophie had a hard time fitting in. Although Sophie claimed to have a very wealthy grandfather, she was never able to determine where his money originated. On the other hand, Sophie was able to attend a private school and take luxurious trips. Sophie was close to her mother when she was a little child because she didn't have any siblings. When Sophie was about 16 years old, she moved to England on her own. Despite her hatred of England, Sophie's mother ultimately relocated there as well. Claire moved with Sophie to Mexico, where they lived together for the whole time that Sophie was there. Since Sophie was traveling to the United States on a K-1 visa to marry Rob, she wondered if her mother would follow him to the country. But Sophie was aware that Rob found that offensive. Even though they weren't the biggest fans of one another, Sophie wanted them to get along since in the end, they would be family. On Season 10 of 90 Day Fiancé, Rob's nickname, Rob the Knob, was created by Claire. Claire believed Rob to be a complete moron, ill-mannered, and a knob. Though Sophie was only happy to see Rob, Claire was aware that she was entering an unfavorable position. When she arrived in the United States, her thoughts would turn to the bad stuff. For Rob, Sophie invoked the proverb, "Talk is cheap, money buys houses." Sophie encouraged Claire to hold off on frightening Rob until after they were married. Nothing that could jeopardize her relationship with Rob was her goal. Sophie was taken aback when Claire relocated to the United States. When Rob and Claire first met, they got into a fight. Rob felt that Claire's joking about shoving Rob's mother to the ground was hostile. Rob's man cave did not impress Claire. After Sophie's response, Rob got into a heated debate with Claire and Sophie, accusing them of not knowing where he came from because they had never experienced the bottom as he had. Claire was in the U.S. because she had a boyfriend in Texas when she and Rob split up after moving to Austin. Although Claire was still residing in Mexico, she frequently traveled to Texas to visit Sophie and her lover John. Less than a year after their marriage, Sophie moved out of Rob's flat, giving Claire her "I told you so" moment. Sophie was disappointed that her own relationship was a mess, even if she was relieved that her mother had at last met a good lover after a run of poor dates. Sophie used the chance to talk about the true reason she was having trouble letting go of Rob. Growing up, Sophie didn't have a stable upbringing. Claire, Sophie's mother, battled substance misuse. Claire did not have the opportunity to raise Sophie as she ought to have. Sophie had to look after her mother. In the end, she raised herself. Sophie struck me as a perfect illustration of parentification. She adopted the role of a parent in order to support Claire during her drug addiction. Sophie claimed that wanting a perfect family for once was one of the reasons she wanted her relationship with Rob to succeed despite the fact that he was an infidelity. Rob, regrettably, was not the person Sophie had imagined herself raising her ideal family. On her Instagram stories, Sophie's mother posted footage purportedly showing Rob abusing her daughter via Mary Pants. In one video, Rob threatened to break Sophie's phone and demanded money from her, despite the fact that Sophie was still in the country on a K-1 visa and could not lawfully work there. Claire claimed that Rob had caused Sophie to cry. She declared that she was tired of being called a helicopter mom. Claire said that he was giving Sophie money so she could buy necessities like toothpaste. Sophie informed viewers that her mother, not Rob, was attempting to harm her, even though she avoided using her mother's name in her remarks about the videos. Instead of sharing the recordings to protect Sophie, Sophie claimed Claire did it as a form of blackmail. She clarified that the films were personal and not intended for public viewing. Sophie acknowledged that Claire's behavior had appalled her. She called Claire's behavior insane because Claire was a family member and claimed that Claire would not stop until she had destroyed her life. Sarcasm claims that on May 10, 2024, Claire was taken into custody in Williamson County, Texas, due to an event that had happened the day before. A $5,000 bond was being used to hold Claire. Terroristic threat of a family/household member was the reason for her detention. Apparently, during the 3 months that Claire, Sophie, and Sophie's friend Callan, known as Ka on the show, were living together, there were weeks of escalating tension. On April 22, 2024, Claire was evicted from the flat, but her financial difficulties contributed to the ongoing challenges. Claire was said to have pestered Sophie for cash. Sophie was allegedly threatened by Claire to harm herself if she failed to send the money. Since Claire moved away, Sophie had already sent her a total of $3,000. Additionally, Sophie said Claire was threatening to kill her. Rob's closest friend, Tori, has verified this, while posting screenshots of Claire and Sophie's text messages via Kiki and Kibitz. Although Claire and Sophie were staying at a motel 4 minutes apart, the police were able to locate Claire and execute the warrant due to her lack of communication with Sophie. It was said that Claire had attempted self-harm in the past, and Sophie was unable to get in touch with her. Before the accusations against Claire were dropped, she was detained for 6 days. Sophie will be cut off from Claire if she is able to post the $5,000 bond. Following her release, Claire posted an update on Instagram via Kiki and Kibitz. She claimed to have had her hair done and expressed her gratitude for being able to rest her head on a pillow once more, knowing that she had done no wrong. The one thing Claire stated would never change is how much she loves Sophie, the star of 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after. She continued, "I love my daughter and pray that angels protect her."